It's a vital time of year for all managers of teams, objective setting. Now, for many, that is just an administrative headache you just need to get through. What I want to share with you today is why it is such a vital moment in the year to get right, and why so many managers, even really senior ones, get it wrong. I'm going to share with you 5 mistakes that I've seen many a time when managers have been setting objectives and what to do to make sure you are not in that situation and that you have your best year ever. The primary role of a manager is to set the direction for their team, and objective setting for the year is a moment as a consequence to get right, because it lays out where you're going, where the team are going, and what they are going to have achieved by the end of the year, and what success is. It's a moment of clarity, but it is also a vital moment of alignment. You need to make sure that both you and each member of your team and your team as a whole are all on the same page and have absolute clarity about what it is that you're going to achieve in this new year. If you don't have that clarity, what you very rapidly will find is that you get ambiguity. And as soon as ambiguity exists, you start to find time being wasted, problems arising between people or teams, frustration, and for you as a manager, your inbox and your ear are going to be full of problems of what is going wrong. So getting that clarity so everybody knows where they're heading and what success is for 2024 is a really important job for you to do. Why does it go wrong? Well, here are the top 5 mistakes I see happening with my tips on what to do. Mistake number 1. The objectives are just a bit blurry, a bit soft focus, and they do not focus on an outcome. Sometimes objectives are just not specific enough. And in particular, they focus on how you might do something rather than describing what success is, what a good outcome is, rather than how you would do it. So, for example, you might be in a sales team and you say, we grow distribution to 45%. And indeed, you could hit that objective. But what a good objective does, just puts more meat on the bones. There may be a measure of distribution, but you want that to be sustainable distribution, not just products put anywhere. So it gives you an opportunity as you write the objective to explain what good looks like, the outcome, rather than just how you may go about doing it. And the more you can bring that to life for your team, that vision of success, the clearer they will be on the task that is being asked of them. I personally like the OKR framework, which is objectives and key results, because I think it helps you think through, obviously, the objective, what it is you are going to do, but what's the result? What is the measure and what does good look like? Objective setting at its primary level is a thinking exercise so that you get clear on what it is that you're going to do. So the more you can think that through and get clear and articulate it very clearly, the better. The second mistake is that the context for the objectives is not well understood. And this particularly happens as you move down the organisation. We have to think about, for an organisation's success, all these objectives, everybody's objectives builds up to this picture of success for the year. Everybody's got a little piece of the jigsaw. When you've got your one little piece, it can be hard to work out, how does this fit in with everything else? So the more, as a leader, you can create context and explain why this objective is important, how it fits into the greater organizational goals, the more you give meaning to what people are doing. And meaning creates greater engagement with your team, and it helps people as well when problems arise to understand it in a more broad way than just looking at the very specific objectives they themselves may be doing. For example, say you're in a customer service department and you have objectives about the number of calls that you're going to handle in a day. A valuable thing to do at the beginning of the year is remind everybody of why is that so important? You're not just handling calls and solving customers' problems. They are the main interface for that organization's customers. And they are vital in creating a fantastic customer experience that is more likely that the customer will come back, the customer will tell their friends. So anchoring your objectives in your team purpose and vision for success and how that fits within the organization helps people understand why and gives it importance. I want you to always remember that, because I think it's often just assumed everybody knows. But the point is, everybody doesn't know. In making it much more explicit at this time of year helps gives colour and meaning to those objectives. Mistake number 3, objective setting is a paper exercise. What I see happens is people do set the objective at the beginning of the year and they are being driven by a timeline, normally from HR, which means you have to get it into the performance management process. Get your objectives in. We've got to get them in by this date. And they're done. And then life just carries on and new work comes in or new priorities. And managers don't sit down and review the objectives with their team and check that they are still live and right. And that is because it's just an ad hoc thing to do and not what it actually is, a vital part of your own management operating system and a vital part of how you manage your team. In order for that to happen, you have to have regular milestones when you review where you've got to and adjust if necessary. I think a good operating system looks at annual goals and then breaks them down into quarters. It keeps it relevant, it keeps it live, and it keeps that level of attainability. And there's another benefit for you, because you're going to know if you're on or off track. If you've ever got to the end of the year and you're doing the appraisal and the objectives are absolutely miles away from what the person has actually done, the appraisal becomes a negotiation and a post-rationalization of what went on in the year. If you turn it around and say objectives is the way in which we're going to make sure that we're always working on the most important work and maintaining that level of alignment between you and your team, you're going to be in a much, much better place. Now, if you want to know more about what makes up an effective manager's operating system, I have a new course and I have put the link below. It is going live this month. And if you would like to know more about it and gain early access, follow up down below. I'd love to see you. I think this is such an important part for managers in helping you reclaim your time and accelerate your leadership. Mistake number 4, the objectives are so ambitious that even though people take them, there is little buy-in. And what happens over time is the commitment is just not there. For managers, the challenge is balancing the ambition and the stretch with the doability. And that's a decision, a judgment call, as it were. And it can be difficult to do, especially if you have not had a lot of experience of setting objectives. But these goals have come down from on high and you're thinking, well, we've got to do this. The key to success here is involving your team and adopting a how can we mindset. I think you have to face into the challenge that is before you. You cannot ignore it. If people are thinking this is too stretched and they don't know how they're going to achieve it, your role is to facilitate that solution building that gives people confidence that these objectives are indeed doable. What I would recommend you do is that you have a team meeting and you review your objectives in the round and have an open conversation about, firstly, what have you got going for you? What are your strengths that are going to help you achieve those goals? What may some members of the team already be doing, which would really help in this situation that other members of the team may not know about? Then what are the issues? What's the risk? And make it transparent. And as a consequence, spend time saying, knowing our strengths and our issues, how can we? And coming up with plans that help you. The second thing to do is to break these goals down into quarters so that it's a 90-day focus. And what it helps people do is break down, stretch overwhelming goals into much more doable activity. So face into those issues and then create plans and break them down into shorter windows of time so that you can help build momentum and success and build confidence that those bigger goals can be there by the end of the year. One of the things I've learned over the years is that teams can absolutely amaze you and achieve just incredible things. But what you will always see is a robust plan that gets them to achieving that objective and a belief that they can, and facing into the issues and then coming up with tangible plans that help everybody get there makes such a difference. Mistake number 5. You do not align your key cross-functional stakeholders. Objectives are often set within a team. Your objectives cascading through your team and feeding into your line manager. But work moves cross teams and across functions. And something that may be a priority for you, but you are dependent on resource from a cross-functional team, they may not have the same sense of priority. It is really important at the beginning of the year that you sit down, you look at your objectives and look at who are your key cross-functional stakeholders, and you proactively go and talk with them, share your objectives, what your expectations are of their support, and vice versa. And what you will see where you don't have that match. It is much better to have these discussions at a manager level as you're setting these objectives, rather than setting them off and they're happening to individuals as you're going along. It can cause frustration and tension across teams, and the more proactive approach of aligning with your key cross-functional stakeholders and checking you're on the same page can make all the difference to your team's success. So there you go. 5 mistakes that often derail managers at this important time of objective setting and what to do to counter it. I think the beginning of the year is so exciting because it's so full of hope and possibilities. What I want you to do is use your objective setting to harness that, but then keep it as part of the way in which you manage your year and your team to make sure that those things that you're writing down right now are actually achieved at the end of the year. And just think what that would feel like for you and your team if you look down your objectives and it's an absolute clean sweep, things have been done well, you've adapted to change that's come in, but still delivered what it was you set at the beginning of the year. It can give great satisfaction as a leader, as well as a good deal of career success. Next week, I'm going to be talking about the other part of the performance management process, appraisals, because yes, that's the other thing we're into, appraisal season. And if there's anything that fills my clients with dread, it is the appraisal season. If you found this useful, please like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Please share it with a colleague. Any of your colleagues who may be wrestling with exactly the same problem, please share this video. They may find it so helpful, and I would be eternally grateful. Until next week, happy objective setting. I'll see you then.